Let me be real with you for just a minute. Your players are freaking tired of goblins and zombies. If you want your encounters to be epic, to be unforgettable, to be monumental, then you have to give your players enemies that will leave a lasting impression. Let's give them some monsters to remember. This week on Short Rest Studios. Hey there, adventurers. Welcome back to Short Rest Studios. My name is Judd, and this week we're continuing our series, Epic Encounters, Mastering Unforgettable DnD Combat. Today, Part 3, Memorable Monsters. Let's dig right in. When you're trying to create an unforgettable encounter, and you're picking that perfect enemy, that perfect monster, the first thing that you really have to consider is the skill level of your players. Now, hopefully you're not planning a TPK, unless you are, you sadistic jerk.
They're all dead.
But that may actually be the result of making the enemies too powerful. It could also just make the encounter really frustrating and not a lot of fun. And we're about fun here, right? We're playing a game. It's supposed to be fun. We're not trying to frustrate people. Unless you want to be frustrated, you masochistic weirdo. So just start by thinking about how hard you want the encounter to be for your players. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a lot of tools to help you to balance encounters. And if you want to use an online tool that makes things really easy, you can try Kobold Fight Club. It's a great online encounter builder. There's also the beta encounter builder on D&D Beyond that can be pretty helpful. It's also important to remember, and helpful for your mental health to remember, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The reason the Monster Manual exists is to help you pick the right enemies for a particular encounter. And there are lots of other resources too. The Monster Manual isn't the only way to go. In fact, do me a favor, in the comments, why don't you tell me what resources you like to use for finding interesting enemies, memorable monsters to put into your encounters. As DMs, we like to be creative. That's part of what we love about this game. It's part of what we love about the role that we play as the Dungeon Master. But books like the Monster Manual and other resources exist to help us find the right enemies in the right context without stressing ourselves out. Sometimes we get stressed out trying to be so creative, and I'm just here to tell you, you don't have to. It's supposed to be fun, unless you want to get stressed out. You masochistic freak. Using these other resources can help ensure that your monsters are going to be thematically and setting appropriate, which means more fun and less stress. At the same time, don't be afraid to customize those monsters. Sometimes as a DM, it's our job to modify existing monsters to fit our campaign. And again, that's part of what we love about the game. Maybe your goblins are really advanced spellcasters. Maybe your bugbears have higher than standard hit points. This kind of stuff keeps your players on their toes, keeps them guessing, and keeps them engaged with the encounter. But listen, make sure you take notes so you don't forget all the changes you made to these existing monsters. So once we have these monsters in place, how do we make them more memorable? Well, there's two things we need to do. The first is to give them objectives. NPCs, which monsters are, just like player characters, need objectives and goals. Are they motivated by a need for revenge against the people who killed their child? Are they protecting their homeland? Are they serving a higher power? These motivations can define their character. Once we give them objectives, we need to give them limits. They're not omnipotent, unless sometimes they are. You sadistic jerk. Sometimes they are omnipotent, but let's think about it in this way. An omnipotent enemy is no fun to fight, so we need to give them some limits. Maybe there's a powerful gemstone that is the source of their magic, and if the party takes that gemstone or destroys it, it takes away the enemy's advantage and creates a whole other facet to this encounter. When you give your monsters or your enemies limits, that gives your players weaknesses to exploit, and this makes for the kind of story that sticks in your memory. We've got more to talk about, but if you're getting some value out of this video, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button down below so that other people get a chance to see this video and become part of the Short Rest Studios community. So you've picked the right monster, you've given them objectives and limits and a bit of personality, but something's still not quite right. Sometimes the way to jazz up an encounter is by adding more monsters. Specifically, try 2 to 3 different types of monsters. This creates different types of attacks and abilities that your players now have to contend with. Maybe the hobgoblins who serve that evil sorceress are accompanied by a bunch of her gargoyle minions, and while the hobgoblins are attacking your players with swords and spears and bows and clubs, the gargoyles are diving down from the sky and attacking them with teeth and claws.
Nasty big pointy teeth.
This adds complexity and strategic depth to the encounter that will have your players adapting and changing tactics throughout the battle. Finally, let's talk about boss battles. Fighting the BBEG should be the highlight of your campaign, and every great boss battle should have distinct phases. A great way to achieve this is by having your boss monster change its behavior based on the conditions of the battle. For example, when that wizard is down a certain number of hit points, maybe he decides to turn invisible, making the battle a whole different scenario. Great boss monsters should have unique mechanics and abilities. For example, think about the way dragons use that fear mechanic in an encounter. And a great boss monster needs a grand presence. And this is where things like lair actions can really heighten the gameplay. You can also make them larger than life by role-playing them as flamboyant or quietly vicious. Choose bold traits that will make them stand out in your players' memories and role-play those to the hilt. Even if there are minions to deal with, make sure the BBEG is the centerpiece of this battle. Continue to challenge your players to think strategically and cooperate creatively. A well-designed boss battle will leave a lasting impression in your players' minds. Adventurers, that's a wrap for today's episode. These tips are going to ensure that your players have an unforgettable experience. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time for part 4 of Epic Encounters Mastering Unforgettable D&D Combat on Short Rest Studios.